Okay, this is Business 342, the practice final, set number 1, problem number 6. A project produces cash flows of $7,200 a year for 3 years. The PI, which is the profitability index, is 1.02 at a discount rate of 14%. What is the initial cost of the project? Okay, so they tell you the discount rate or the required return, whichever you want to call it, is 14%. And they tell you the profitability index is 1.02. They also tell you the cash flows for 3 years. So if you remember, let's just put this up here. The profitability index is the present value of the future cash flows divided by the initial investment. Remember, the net present value is the present value of the future cash flows minus the initial investment. The profitability index has the same two things. It's just the ratio of one to the other. If this is bigger than that, then this is going to be over 1, which means the net present value is going to be positive, because when the present value of the future cash flows are larger than the initial investment, right, that means that the net present value is greater than 0. So when the profitability index is 1, the net present value is 0. Okay, because this over this is 1, right? If these were the same, then that would be 1. If these were the same and you subtracted this from the cash flows, that means the net present value would be equal to 0. So when the profitability index is 1, the net present value is 0. When the profitability index is above 1, which is the numerator is larger than the denominator, net present value is positive, because this amount is larger than that, and you subtract this from that to get net present value. And the opposite, when this is larger than that, the profitability index is less than 1, and the net present value is negative, because the initial investment is larger than the present value of the future cash flows. Okay, so let's figure this out, though, because they give you enough to figure out the answer to the question, which is what is the initial cost. Because here's the profitability index. It's the present value of the future cash flows over the initial investment equals the profitability index. Okay, they gave you the profitability index. They told you it's 1.02. They gave you the future cash flows and the discount rate, so you could figure out what the present value is, and then you just have to solve for the initial investment. So the first thing you have to do is you go through on your calculator, and you've got to figure out the present value of those future cash flows. But if you've got stored data on there still, you're going to want to go to CF, because see, present value's got a number from when I did before, CF, and then hit second, and then CE, and it clears all those numbers. Make sure you do that. Okay, so it tells you that you have cash flows for 3 years of $7,200. Okay, so we already cleared it. Then we'll hit the CF key, which we already did. Cash flow 0. There is no initial investment. We're trying to solve for the initial investment, so we'll hit enter and then down. Okay, so it's asking for cash flow 1. Well, there's 3 of them at $7,200, so we'll put 7,200. Okay, and then enter, and then down, and then we'll hit 3. You can see the steps right here. We'll hit 3 for this, since all 3 of them are the same. 3, and then enter. Okay, and then down, and then the cash flow 2, we don't. After we enter that 3, we hit the down arrow. Then we can go ahead and go to net present value. Let's see if it goes. No, that didn't. I'll go back up. Okay, we'll hit net present value. It doesn't matter. Don't hit that second down arrow. Just hit net present value. Now it's asking for the interest rate. Remember, the interest rate is the discount rate or the required return. And in this case, it was 14%. So we'll enter 14. Remember, you always got to hit enter. If you don't hit enter, it's not going to do these things. Okay, so now we hit entered. We hit the down arrow. And now it's going to ask you, or it's going to show you net present value is 0. Remember, you have to hit the compute button to compute the net present value. Hit compute. Okay, and it says $16,715.75. Okay, so that is the net present value of those future cash flows. Okay, and they told you that that the profitability index is 1.02. They told you that the profitability index is 1.02. So you put that in the over here because that's the profitability index, and you just solve for the initial investment. Because remember, the profitability index is the present value of the future cash flows over the initial investment equals the profitability index. So you just basically swap things around a little bit. You divide the present value by the 1.02. That'll get you the initial investment. Your initial investment is $16,387.99. That's number C over here. So that's the answer to, and I'll show you this whole thing in case you need to see it again. I'm emailing you the answers to the problems anyway, but okay, so that's business 342, practice final, set 1, problem number 6.